This video is a demonstration on how to replace the entire bottom block assembly on a Bottoms Up Beer Dispenser. This is a countertop version. If this was an in-counter version, you'd have to be looking up underneath whatever counter material the dispenser is installed in. Step one is to make sure that your keg is untapped from the valve that you're working on. The next step is to take a phillips screwdriver or a pair of pliers if you have them and remove this E-clip that is on the plunger rod of the valve. The E-clip can be removed by placing the tip of the Phillips screwdriver in one of the windows that is on the closed side of the clip, sliding away from the open side, removing the clip, and then the Lincoln log. Setting those aside and saving them, you disconnect the solenoid, which is the two white wires going into the quick disconnect. You press the tab on the quick disconnect, removing the connector entirely from the circuit board. You then remove the 4 Phillips screws that hold the bottom block assembly to the bottoms up valve. The reason that you want to make sure that you are untapped on your keg is because once you remove this piece, you are opening up the bottom of the valve seal, and if you were pressurized, you would start leaking beer everywhere. Once you have the 4 screws loosened all the way, you grab the valve assembly, the bottom block valve assembly, and remove it completely from the dispenser. Remove the 4 screws from the assembly, put them in the new provided bottom block assembly, and complete the steps in reverse order. So you will see that there are 4 bossed points here. They align with indentations in the bottom of the bottoms up valve. You realign and you start to screw the valve back to the dispenser. You want to make sure to use a screwdriver and not use a drill, because the plastic of the valve assembly can be crushed pretty easily with a drill. By hand, you would be hard pressed to damage it. So I am tightening these until they are tool tight, which is more than enough for it. So now it's snugged up. I give it just a little bit more, nice and tight. You got to replace the Lincoln log, and you have to make sure that the rounded side goes up against the dispenser. Reason being, when the valve is trying to open, this is a ramp that is trying to push down against the Lincoln log. If you have it with the flat side towards the dispenser, it can't open the valve. So you want the rounded side, this curve, facing up towards the dispenser. You then replace the E-clip. There is a groove in this post here. You get it set in that groove. And then with a pair of pliers, you can just gently squeeze it on. If you don't have pliers, you can push it on with your Phillips screwdriver, and you are down to the last step, which would be to plug the solenoid into the circuit board. I always check, just making sure everything's tight, actuating it with my finger, retap the keg, and you should be ready to proceed.